Welcome back to the deep dive. You've asked us to take your source material, dive deep into the data, and deliver a definitive answer on where Polkadot DOT stands as we move through the first quarter of 2026.
Yeah.
And if you're an investor, a developer, or just someone trying to understand this next wave of decentralized tech, you can feel that this moment is, well, it's different.
It absolutely is. Our sources all seem to agree that this quarter isn't just another standard reporting period.
So,
It's being called a fundamental point of inflection for the
yeah.
Polkadot network. It really marks the end of one era and the very rapid start of another.
Okay, let's level set for everyone listening. Polkadot can be, well, a bit misunderstood. It's not just another blockchain.
Not at all.
It's more like the unifying architecture, the invisible glue that connects this whole ecosystem of parallel chains. They call them parachains.
Right, to create a unified, scalable, and secure decentralized internet.
And this project was pioneered by Gavin Wood, who is, a co-founder of Ethereum. It's all built on the substrate protocol and held together by that core relay chain.
Exactly. And our mission today is really to cut through all the noise, all the speculative hype. We're going to focus strictly on the verified technology, the measurable economic impact.
And the utility, the
Real.
stuff that's now finally reaching the surface.
That's it.
So what's the core takeaway for you, the listener? By the end of this, you will have a crystal clear understanding of why the community is declaring that Polkadot is entering its second age.
And maybe more critically, the massive significance of this impending economic scarcity event, the halving.
Right.
To frame this Q1 momentum, we have to look back at the groundwork they laid last year. Polkadot officially completed its major infrastructure phase,
Yeah.
Polkadot 2.0, back in 2025.
And that transition is profound.
It really is.
Yeah.
They're no longer just focused on building the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
They are now laser-focused on launching real products and getting users.
So the momentum we're seeing, it's driven by these two twin forces.
Yep. The technical upgrades, which bring this almost unheard-of speed, and then that scarcity mechanism that's coming in March.
Okay, let's unpack that second age concept. Let's focus on speed first. The excitement around the foundational tech improvements from 2025 seems almost entirely focused on scalability.
It is.
So what specific enhancements made this shift from an infrastructure project to a product launchpad even possible?
It was a massive overhaul. I mean, it was designed specifically to address the blockchain trilemma, that eternal trade-off between security, decentralization, and speed.
And they solved this. How?
Primarily through two key 2025 features: asynchronous backing and elastic scaling.
Okay, asynchronous backing. That sounds like a deep system optimization, something that accelerates how blocks are processed and cuts down confirmation time, which is crucial.
That's sort of the engine room upgrade, yeah. But elastic scaling is the feature that really changes the user experience.
How so?
It allows the chain architecture to sort of breathe and expand when it needs to. This feature gives you up to a 3 times reduction in block times for rollups.
So what does that mean in real numbers?
It means cutting the average block confirmation time from 6 seconds down to a blistering 2 seconds.
2 seconds. Wow, that is huge. I mean, if you're used to Web2 apps, waiting 6 seconds for a transaction feels like waiting for a website to load in 1999.
Exactly.
But 2 seconds is nearly instantaneous. That's the kind of speed the average consumer just expects now.
Precisely. And the data shows this change is working. You brought up a staggering statistic from our sources.
Yeah, the TPS transactions per second saw a massive increase of 2,540% in just the last week of December 2025.
2,540%.
In 1 week.
That's not incremental. So what's the single biggest driver behind that kind of exponential jump?
It's really the combination of those scaling mechanisms. It confirms the network can now handle massive throughput without compromising the security that the relay chain provides.
And that's the core of it, right? It's the heart of why they're calling it a decentralized supercomputer. This concept is underpinned by Gavin Wood's academic work on the JAM protocol, the Joint Accumulate Machine.
They believe they've basically cracked the trilemma.
They do, making Polkadot ready to handle these heavy-duty applications that other chains just can't sustain securely.
Speaking of making things easy and attracting those heavy-duty applications, let's transition to the Q1 milestones that directly impact developers. Speed is great, but it's meaningless if developers can't build efficiently.
Right.
And the first big news was smart contracts coming directly onto the Polkadot hub.
This is a huge strategic shift. The network upgrade that enabled this went live on January 20th after a lot of rigorous testing on Kusama, their canary network.
And the upgrade focused on latency and Ethereum compatibility.
Crucially, yes, enhanced Ethereum compatibility.
Okay, let's clarify some of that jargon. What exactly is the Polkadot Hub, and why is putting smart contracts there such a game changer?
Well, the Polkadot Hub is basically the primary shared execution environment attached to the relay chain.
Okay.
And traditionally, a developer had to win an incredibly expensive and time-consuming parachain auction just to get a slot to launch their application.
Right, which was a huge barrier.
A huge one. By allowing EVM-compatible apps to deploy smart contracts directly on the hub, Polkadot is essentially saying, you don't need to mortgage your house to start building here.
So it just massively lowers that barrier to entry. It makes the ecosystem instantly competitive with places like Ethereum or Avalanche.
Instantly. There's a massive welcome mat rolled out to Ethereum's huge developer base.
But there's another layer to this infrastructure play. The Decentralized Computing Initiative, or JAM Milestone 1. What does Joint Accumulate Machine even mean in practical terms?
It means they're moving beyond simple things like token transfers and into serious distributed computation.
Like what?
Think AI model training, massive data processing, decentralized scientific simulation, really complex tasks.
Yeah.
Our sources noted that 15 teams have already submitted initial implementations for JAM Milestone 1.
And they're under review now?
They are.
15 teams submitting major computing projects right out of the gate. That shows immediate engagement. And we're seeing that energy materialize quickly, too.
With a hackathon, you mean?
Yeah, the Polkadot Hub Hackathon 2026, co-hosted by Open Guild and the Web3 Foundation. They're using DOT prizes to actively incentivize builders to explore all these new capabilities.
And the implication is clear. Polkadot isn't just trying to be a fast, secure competitor anymore.
No, it's positioning itself as a foundational infrastructure layer.
Exactly, for decentralized computing.
Yeah.
The goal is to be the next AWS, but without Bezos and all the centralized control that comes with that.
It's ambitious, but those speed metrics really back up the claim. Now, let's pivot hard to the economics, because no matter how good the tech is, the market cares about scarcity.
Always.
And beyond the code, the biggest event this quarter is, of course, the halving.
This is the scarcity drama you mentioned earlier, and it's massive for anyone holding DOT. The first ever Polkadot halving is scheduled for March 14th.
And the mechanism is simple.
Very. The rewards given to network validators will be cut by 50%, a straight 50% cut.
So what does that do to the supply side, to the long-term value proposition?
This action drops the network's inflation rate to about 3.1%. And while Polkadot supply isn't hard capped like Bitcoin, this mechanism is a powerful way to manage inflation.
So it effectively puts a ceiling on the total supply.
It does. A potential total supply of 2.1 billion DOT, with 1.6 billion already out there. The stated goal here is to make DOT more scarce than digital gold over the long run.
And for you, the investor, scarcity is important, but liquidity is also key, especially for institutional players. And this halving is happening at the same time as a major governance win for speed and access.
Yes, the market is definitely responding to that governance efficiency. Our sources highlighted the approved DAP Phase 1 proposal, which passed with a staggering 99% approval rate.
99%. And why is that so critical?
Because it accelerates the unstaking time for nominators to just 24 hours.
Okay, contextualize that for us. What was the unstaking period before, and why is a 24-hour window so important for liquidity?
Historically, unstaking could take weeks, sometimes longer. And that created a lot of friction and risk for, say, large funds or institutional investors who need fast access to their capital.
Of course.
Cutting it to 24 hours fundamentally changes the entire risk calculation. It makes DOT a much more attractive, much more liquid asset for institutional adoption.
And we're already seeing signs of that interest picking up.
We are.
The price predictions for Q1 were volatile. CoinMarketCap saw a range between $1.51 and $2.30. The Benzinga's predictions hit $2.75 in January.
And they specifically cited the momentum from JAM and the critical news of Polkadot's inclusion on Grayscale's new ETF list.
That Grayscale inclusion is the ultimate institutional signal, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
It suggests that traditional finance players believe this architecture has real long-term viability. And when you couple that with the partnership with GK8 by Galaxy Digital,
A firm that's all about institutional crypto custody.
exactly. You have tangible evidence that smart money is paying very close attention to both the increased speed and the newly enforced scarcity.
It's a compelling case for the infrastructure, but let's shift focus from the wires and economics to the actual applications being built. If Ethereum is the wise old grandfather, Polkadot is the cool nephew that connects everyone together.
That's a good way to put it. And the ecosystem is scaling in terms of utility.
How so?
The growth is significant. The network currently features 216 parachains, all of them specialized economies, securely connected. But the real metric to watch is utilization and revenue.
You mean actual businesses making money?
Yes. Projects like Bifrost, for instance, are generating reported revenues of $10 million. It's proof of concept. It proves the architecture can support successful revenue-generating dApps.
That is the definition of utility. And what's really interesting for 2026 is this focus on first-party applications, apps built by Parity Tech itself.
Some sources are even describing their ambition as aiming to be the Google for Web3.
That reinforces the shift then.
It does. They're moving from just being the operating system to building key applications on top of it. We're seeing specific products emerge. The Polkadot app portal for indie developers, the PUSD stablecoin.
And that proof of personhood system, which seems very timely.
Incredibly timely. It's designed specifically to combat the rise of malicious AI bots and Sybil attacks.
So the infrastructure layer isn't just fast and scalable, it's actively building the consumer-facing security and finance tools that real users actually need.
Precisely. If you want adoption beyond the crypto-savvy crowd, you need compelling products that people can use every day without needing a 6-month instruction manual. That focus is the final piece of the Polkadot 2.0 puzzle.
Okay, but we did promise a balanced view. We've covered all this incredible momentum, but what are the challenges? What roadblocks could potentially derail this whole transition into the second age?
It's never a smooth journey. The primary challenge is, I think, inertia, specifically developer adoption. How do you successfully attract the next generation of builders away from established, deeply entrenched ecosystems like Ethereum and its layer 2s?
Switching code bases is a big ask.
It's expensive, it's time-consuming, and it carries technical risk. That's a major hurdle.
And on the economic side, we said the halving is a huge driver, but it also carries inherent risk, right?
Oh, absolutely. High volatility post-halving is a definite risk. Historical precedent from other chains suggests that prices could initially dip before they climb as the market just digests that supply shock.
So investors need to be prepared for some short-term turbulence.
They do. And you can't forget the competition. Specialized fast chains like Solana and Avalanche are fierce rivals, and they're not standing still either.
But the most crucial friction point you highlighted from our sources wasn't external, it was internal governance.
And this raises a really critical philosophical question. Polkadot is governed by its holders through OpenGov. And while that's decentralized in theory,
In practice,
our sources pointed out signs of friction. They cited recent cases, specifically the state-skin referendum failing to pass.
but hold on, if a referendum fails, doesn't that just prove the decentralized system is actually working? That the majority is exercising their right to say no?
It proves the system is secure, yes, but not necessarily that it's efficiently scaled.
What's the difference?
If Polkadot wants to be the Google of Web3, handling massive amounts of economic and technical decision-making, it needs more than just security. It needs widespread, engaged participation. A governance failure at this stage indicates the community needs to increase that participation, that voting engagement, for the system to function at the scale they're targeting.
It's the ultimate stress test.
It really is.
So the ultimate challenge for 2026 isn't the code or the tokenomics. It's proving that Polkadot's complex, decentralized structure can actually deliver real, useful products managed by a community that consistently shows up and votes.
That's the big test. Moving from elegant technology to actual mass market utility.
So let's wrap this up. What is the core conclusion for the listener? Polkadot in Q1 2026 is a maturing ecosystem. It's defined by phenomenal speed increases.
Cutting block times to 2 seconds.
Major upgrades like smart contracts on the hub and the foundational work for JAM, and crucially, that defining economic scarcity event in the March halving.
This quarter truly marks the definitive shift from hype to utility.
So for investors,
For investors, the data, coupled with those institutional signals like grayscale, suggests it's a potential buy-before-boom scenario. It's scarcity meeting real functionality.
and for developers,
For developers, the lowered barriers to entry and the extensive new toolkit offered by JAM make it an infinite playground for building the next generation of decentralized apps.
that is the takeaway. And here is a final provocative thought for you to mull over as you process this deep dive. If the March halving performed similarly to historical game-changing events like the Bitcoin halvings, DOT could indeed really shine.
However, those internal governance challenges remain an immediate fundamental hurdle. So the ultimate question for you, the listener, is this. Given the ongoing friction and the failure of some key internal referendums, can Polkadot's sophisticated decentralized governance structure successfully scale to manage a platform that aims to be the indispensable global Google of Web3?
Because that requires mass, engaged participation.
And that is much harder to code than any scaling solution.
Food for thought indeed. Always remember, do your own research. This has been The Deep Dive. We'll catch you next time.